What's going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dillon, and I got some updates for you, a range of things, including some updates to the MLB, particularly one team. There's some news. There's a team in the news. There will be some information on the Las Vegas Raiders and, you know, what they're going to be doing as far as fans go for this upcoming season. There is an ex-Dolphin who has decided to opt out for the season, and OBJ weighs in, Odell Beckham weighs in on, you know, his views as they stand right now pertaining to, you know, this upcoming season. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. We'll start with the MLB stuff since this is obviously a football channel, and that's not football. So, but it is obviously relevant to, you know, football because both because obviously both sports have to deal with the pandemic, but also because, you know, the NFL is trying to look to other sports as to, you know, how they could possibly do this successfully, which, you know, they don't really have a lot of, you know, good examples to look at so far, unfortunately. So here we go. This is from Yahoo Sports. The Cardinals are dealing with 13 positive coronavirus tests, including 7 from players. The St. Louis Cardinals are dealing with 13 positive coronavirus tests, MLB announced Monday. Reports emerged Sunday that more Cardinals players had tested positive for the coronavirus. The team issued a statement late Sunday saying it was still waiting on test results. Those results, which came in Monday, showed 13 members of the organization tested positive for coronavirus, including 7 players and 6 staff members. Cardinals president of baseball operations, John Mozeliak, said Monday that 8 of the 13 members who tested positive are experiencing symptoms. The Cardinals will remain quarantined in Milwaukee while players continue to receive daily tests. The league canceled the Cardinals series against the Detroit Tigers, but plans for the Cardinals to resume playing Friday against the Chicago Cubs. Mozeliak said the Cardinals are hoping to leave Milwaukee on Wednesday to head back to St. Louis. I mean, it's just it's an entire mess. I mean, their season is already destroyed by the number of teams that have had to, like, cancel games and shit like that. It's a giant fucking mess, but this is capitalism, bro. It's got to churn on. Cardinals' first positives occurred after Wednesday tests. The Cardinals announced Friday that 2 players on the team tested positive for coronavirus. In that announcement, the team said the positives came from tests taken Wednesday morning. The Cardinals played the Minnesota Twins on Wednesday. No Twins have tested positive for COVID-19, at least not, you know, as of now. Upon learning of the positive tests, the Cardinals decided to isolate in Milwaukee, where the team was set to play the Brewers on Friday. MLB canceled the series after learning 4 other members of the Cardinals tested positive for coronavirus Saturday. When the team did not get results back early Sunday, it announced players would remain in Milwaukee. They'll remain in the city for a few more days. If the team doesn't experience more positive tests, the Cardinals will play the Cubs in St. Louis on Friday. I mean, it's just such a joke, bro. Like, it just, like, it doesn't fucking matter. They just have to keep pushing. Like, so, I'm telling you, at some point, somebody's gonna fucking die. And then I want to see what they have to say about it. Cardinals are second MLB team to experience an outbreak. With the news, the Cardinals are the second team to experience an outbreak during the 2020 season. The Miami Marlins have not played since July 24th after more than half the team tested positive for the coronavirus. 4 Marlins players initially tested positive July 24th, but the team still took to the field to play the Philadelphia Phillies that day. The Marlins experienced more positive tests in the days following that game. The Phillies have also canceled games over playing the Marlins and then over staffers' positive tests by staffers. That was kind of confusing. They are due to resume their season Monday against the Yankees. MLB must decide whether to keep playing. A second outbreak puts more pressure on MLB Commissioner Rob Manfred to determine whether the season should continue. When the Marlins outbreak occurred, Manfred said it was not a nightmare scenario and that he wouldn't cancel the season unless a team was completely non-competitive as a result of the coronavirus. Manfred seemed to hint he was getting closer to that point Friday when a report leaked that Manfred told MLBPA leader Tony Clark the season could be canceled as early as Monday if positive tests continue to pop up. Manfred immediately walked that back Saturday, saying we are playing and that he is not a quitter. MLB's statement Monday indicates the league will continue playing despite another series getting postponed due to the coronavirus. And as I mentioned in the previous video that I reported about that on, I mean, it's just a joke excuse. you're not a quitter, what does you having to be, what does you being a quitter or not have anything to do with what we're talking about? Because you're not on the field, you're not interacting with these guys in the locker rooms or in the fucking, in their facilities, you're not catching coronavirus, okay? So your fucking status of, you know, being a quitter or not is absolutely fucking irrelevant. That's why, to me, that statement, that immediate walk back, after he said he was potentially going to shut down the season, the immediate walk back, what that tells me is there were people with money and power that said to him, had a conversation with him and was like, dude, what are you doing? You can't shut down the season. We got millions of dollars to make, billions of dollars to make. What are you doing? We can't do. So he immediately walks it back, and his lame ass excuses is that he's not a quitter. What? What the fuck is that? You're retarded. No, that's stupid. Anyway, but again, that's the world we live in because capitalism must continue. Let's see. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and move into football a little bit. The next thing we're going to talk about is the Las Vegas Raiders and decisions that they have made regarding fans in the stadium going forward for this upcoming season, should there be one. This is from also from Yahoo Sports. Las Vegas Raiders will play 2020 season in new $2 billion stadium without any fans in attendance. When Mark Davis decided to move the Raiders to Las Vegas, he certainly didn't envision an empty stadium in his first season there. The Raiders informed season ticket holders on Monday that there will be no fans in new Allegiant Stadium this season. Nevada taxes paid $750 million toward the stadium, which cost an estimated $2 billion. Real quick, I just want to say, and you guys know that I'm not a fan of Stephen Ross. I think he's a racist and a piece of shit and terrible at football operations and should sell the team. But having said that, to be fair, he's the only owner that paid for stadium renovations and, you know, to upgrade the team stadium out of his own money. He's the only owner that's done that. So he does get tons and tons of credit for that. But it doesn't negate the other things. Both things are certainly true. Plenty of teams will have to make the difficult decision to hold 2020 home games without fans due to COVID-19. Only one of them is in a new market, however. Raiders make difficult decision. An email signed by Davis went to season ticket holders and was tweeted out by Vince Sapienza of Fox 5 in Las Vegas. The Raiders said they were making the decision to exclude fans due to health concerns. The team also cited fairness to the personal seat license holders because the team was going to have to pick and choose which fans got into games if there were limited crowds. And look, both of those reasonings are absolutely 100% legit, right? Like 100% legit. First of all, the health concerns are obviously the most important thing. You want to make sure that there are no outbreaks in which people get sick and fucking die, right? But having said that, that's right, because if you do try and have limited capacity, then it creates other problems, right? You're not avoiding the first problem because you will still likely have an outbreak. But what will happen is then you create other problems. Like they said, there's a fairness issue because then you got to be like, okay, well, you know, let's say they sold the entire stadium. Well, now you got to pick and choose half of those people, you know, whether it's general admission or, you know, up to the fucking box seats, whatever, you're going to have to pick and choose which of those fans get to be there. And, you know, while you would obviously refund tickets and stuff for those who can't, I mean, it's obviously not the same to them. The Raiders didn't want to start their time in a new city this way, but there wasn't much choice. Other teams will play without fans in stadiums. Other teams like the New York Giants and Jets have already announced that they won't have fans in the stadium this season. Look, and see, it's like I've been saying, though. The dominoes keep falling, right? We've been going in this direction. They keep canceling more stuff, pushing things back, saying, okay, fine, we're going to go limited capacity. Okay, fine, we're going to start not having anybody at all. I'm telling you, eventually the season's going to end up getting shut down, especially as we get closer and into the winter months. It's going to get, this thing is going to, again, fucking, you know, go crazy and nuts all over the place. It's still going nuts, but it's going to, you know, re-amplify yet again. And so things are just going to continue to worse. Eventually the season will get shut down. Whether they play any games at all to this point, I don't know. It's really hard to tell, but they certainly are pushing for it. Let's see. Those teams have years, often decades of history in their cities. Every team in any sport that changes cities, with the rare exception like the Los Angeles Chargers, experiences a rush of interest and excitement from their new market. Las Vegas instantly became a big hockey town with the expansion Golden Knights, and the Raiders were going to be a big hit too. The new stadium across the freeway from the Las Vegas Strip looks phenomenal. In time, Las Vegas will get a chance to embrace the Raiders in person. For now, they'll have to do it from their homes. And that's right. And look, I get it, right? It's disappointing. I understand that. But there are more important things, right? That's why, to the bigger picture, football, I get it. I want to be able to watch. I would like to be able to see if the plan that the Dolphins staff, like, because we've been talking about it now for 2 years. I'm like the only person that thinks that everything that they're doing is complete garbage and is going to end up a massive disaster in the long run. I'm continuing to be proven correct, because even if there is a season this year, it's almost unfathomable that they're going to be any good. This whole year is going to be this year is going to be trash one way or the other. And I'm not convinced that they're good at player evaluation. I don't think that they're, prioritizing things properly. And I think this whole thing is going to go off the rails. And even this pandemic is proving me right, because I told you guys that there was going to be something. There was going to be some kind of, there were several things that I, was a little bit more specific about, right? Like, for example, I said, I don't want to be a big spender in free agency. I don't like the way that they're bringing in these guys, overpaying them. And then it's going to cause cap problems later, especially the way that they're structuring the contracts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? We are like one of the top 3 teams, I think, certainly top 5 teams in dead money. I think we're have the second most dead money. That's terrible for your cap going forward. And now, especially because the cap is expected to drop, it's going to be a disaster for the Dolphins. Absolute fucking disaster for the Dolphins. So I told you guys, I didn't want to do those things specifically, but because, one, it's a bad philosophy to begin with, but in part it's a bad philosophy to begin with because of the fact that there are always unknown factors and circumstances that will undoubtedly come up that throw a wrench into your fucking cogs and cause the whole fucking plan to, go sideways or shit the bed or have some kind of major setback or whatever. And this is a huge setback to the Dolphins' plans, whether people believe it or not. It is. Mark my words, hear me now, quote me later. The Dolphins' plan is going to continue to be a disaster, in part because it was a disaster from the beginning, but also because here is that wrench that I've been telling you guys about. And so, anyway, I mean, point is, I want to see football. I want to see if they can do it, and I want to see if, they can manage Tua, if they can keep him from getting injured, et cetera, et cetera. But, I mean, it's all trending in the downward direction. And, but there are bigger things. Even as much as I want to see all that and find out and have a conclusion to this, whole ordeal that we've undertaken over the past couple years, there's bigger things than that. And the health and safety of people is far greater and far more important. All right, let's go ahead and move on, though, a little bit. The next thing, let me just real quick tell you, there was an opt-out, another recent opt-out, and it was a former Dolphins player who currently plays for the Broncos. So you might be able to guess it is tackle Jawan James. He has decided to opt out for the 2020 season, and that's, pretty big deal. I mean, look, teams are getting we're like a week into training camp. We're not even to any games yet, and teams are getting decimated by both opt-outs and positive tests, right? And we're like, I mean, I can't fathom and wrap my head around how people take in this data that we have and then project that things are going to get better, and it's going to, they project good things. Like, I understand people want to live in their, little fantasy bubbles, and certainly I understand people want to be optimistic. I want to be optimistic too, and I am. I think things are going to get better, but not because of that. right? Like, the data we have suggests that things are certainly going to get a lot worse before they get better. I'm realistic about that. So, you know, look, we'll see, man. I mean, we're roughly about a month away before the very first game is set to be played. If I'm not mistaken, September 10th is the first game between the Texans and the Chiefs. And then the rest of the games start being played on the 13th. I think that's correct. Correct me if I'm wrong. But, so we're about a month away before, you know, we get there. And training camps are open now. All the veterans are there. They're starting to get on practice fields. So we'll see how this shit goes. But anyway, the last thing that I want to talk about, and to wrap this up, there's a report discussing regarding OBJ, Odell Beckham, discussing his views about the season and so on and so forth. So let's go ahead and get into this. This is just an article on Bleacher Report. Odell Beckham Junior said NFL should cancel the season. Owners don't see us as human. That's just the headline, okay? Which, I mean, he's absolutely right about that, right? And we'll talk about that more in a minute, but look at that. Odell Beckham Jr., one of the biggest stars in the NFL, and certainly one of the most, like, egotistical players there is, right? He is saying, like, one of the biggest competitors that there is in the game, he is saying that they should cancel the season. Odell Beckham Jr. does not believe the NFL should hold the 2020 season amid the COVID-19 pandemic. In an interview with Lane Florsheim of the Wall Street Journal, the Cleveland Browns wideout said he feels the campaign is only being held for monetary reasons and that the league's owners don't see the players as human. He is 100% correct about that, as I have been saying this entire time. Obviously, with everything that's this is his statement. Obviously, with everything that's going on, it doesn't make sense why we're trying to do this. I can understand basketball was already in the playoffs. 5-on-5 basketball in an arena is going to be more intense than regular season games. Hooping is different than playing an 11-on-11 contact sport where there's 80 people in a locker room. We're not ready for football season. So why are we trying to push forward? It's obviously for the money, and that bothers me because there's always been this, and I hate saying it like that, but the owner's attitude is, oh, we own you guys, and just kind of that unfairness going on that they don't see us as human. I just feel like the season shouldn't happen, and I'm prepared for it to not happen and wouldn't mind not having it. That's huge, and he's absolutely 100% right about that, because and as I've been saying, in a capitalist system, pretty much really honestly any economic structure that has ever existed throughout all of humanity is the same way. Capitalism is just the peak and the perfection of, you know, the people in power using economic structures to, you know, perfect their methods of manipulation and control and oppression over the masses, right? And they don't consider us to be humans. But specifically in the capitalist structure, human beings are considered human capital stock. Okay, so it's not just the NFL, but anybody. It doesn't matter who you are. You could be, you know, one of the frontline workers. You could be a doctor. You could be a nurse. You could be a burger flipper. You could be a Lyft driver. You could be, it doesn't matter. Insert your profession here. Okay, unless you are part of the top, you know, 1%. So maybe you know, count out like politicians or whatever. Maybe you take that profession for the most part out of it. But damn near every profession, unless you are the top 10% and rule over the entire world, make up all the rules and the policies, have all the wealth, unless you're part of that group of people, you are nothing more than just an asset that is expendable, an expendable asset to those people. And anybody that thinks otherwise is fooling themselves into believing that they are valued by these people. You're not. They consider you to be human capital stock that is replaceable and easily replaceable. Let's see. Mary Kay Cabot of Cleveland.com later reported that Beckham has no plans of opting out after seeing how safe the Browns facility was. He should reconsider that. But, okay, the viability of the NFL season during the coronavirus pandemic remains in question. While sports in North America that have operated within a bubble environment like NBA, NHL, and MLS have worked well, that's not entirely true. The NBA definitely had a breach of their bubble. The MLS, Major League, or no, I'm sorry. I don't know about soccer. I know there was, the only thing I know about Major League Soccer, I do know there were some opt-outs, and I think there were some positive tests, but I think for the most part, they seem to be doing all right. Major League Baseball has not operated in a bubble and has seen a number of positive cases on several teams, forcing the postponements of some games. I mean, I think it is fair to note that the logistical, from a logistical standpoint, it is different for each of these teams, right? Just like football is a contact sport, a full contact sport, right? Whereas, like, you know, in basketball, it's, you know, moderate contact. You bump into each other a bit, right? You definitely rub up against guys, but that's really it. You're not tackling, you're not bringing to the ground, none of that. And then, like, you know, baseball, you're like almost never in contact with the guys unless maybe you're tagging them for an out. You get close to them, obviously. You can get pretty close to them, but you don't really come into contact. So it's all different. Soccer, relative, you know, there's some contact there, right? So each sport has different factors that have to be weighed to determine, you know, whether or not these methods could be successful. Like, I don't think, like, the NBA, it seems to be doing all right with it. I don't think it's a feasible thing for, like, football. I don't think a bubble would work for football. Anyway, Beckham noted several concerns the NFL is facing, namely the roster sizes and the fact that football is a full contact sport. Both seemingly increase the risks of passing along the coronavirus. But traveling between cities is also a concern and increases the chances of the coronavirus spreading throughout the league. For the time being, the plan is to go ahead with the NFL season. The NFL and NFLPA agreed to testing protocols for training camps, and according to Jory Epstein of USA Today, teams will also require daily temperature screening, symptom monitoring, social distancing, and masks, which at least the social distancing and masks, you can't control that 100%. The temperature screening could be very inaccurate or delayed. Symptom monitoring, same thing, very inaccurate or delayed. So, and the testing protocols right now is every day for just the first 2 weeks, which we're already like halfway through. So, you know, all right, we'll see how this goes, man. The league will use an Apple Watch-like proximity tracking device to identify which players, coaches, and staff might have come into contact with someone who tested positive, which is good. You can certainly use it for contact tracing purposes, but you're not going to be like, some people have talked about, oh, well, we're going to use these trackers to make sure people stay away from each other and social distance. And if they don't, we're going to punish them. What? Like, none of that makes any fucking sense. That is an impossible thing to enforce. And if you did try and punish people for it, I mean, I get the implications of people being in close proximity, but it's a full contact fucking sport. Like, it's a dumb thing to try and think you can fucking make happen. Anyway, despite those plans, however, a number of NFL players have opted out of the 2020 season. To date, superstars on Beckham's level have not done so, but it remains a possibility, and some teams have been hit harder than others, with 8 members of the New England Patriots opting out. If superstars begin opting out, an NFL season already full of uncertainty will have an entirely different feel, such as the reality of professional sports in 2020. Well, that is very true. And like I said, my prediction is that at some point, the NFL is going to shut down. So, we'll see if I'm right. It's still not written in stone, and there are still several months of, you know, training camp and games and stuff yet to be played, should that happen. So, we will see. Alright guys, with that, I'm going to get out of here. I hope you guys appreciate my perspective. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Share my channel and videos with your friends and family. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comment section. And of course, as always, make sure you follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. And with that, I am out. I'll see y'all soon. Fins up.